A Course in Miracles. Lesson 8. My mind is preoccupied with past thoughts. This idea is, of course, the reason why you see only the past. No one really sees anything. He sees only his thoughts projected outward. The mind's preoccupation with the past is the cause of the misconception about time from which your seeing suffers. Your mind cannot grasp the present, which is the only time there is. It therefore cannot understand time, and cannot, in fact, understand anything. The one wholly true thought one can hold about the past is that it is not here. To think about it at all is therefore to think about illusions. Very few have realized what is actually entailed in picturing the past or in anticipating the future. The mind is actually blank when it does this, because it is not really thinking about anything. The purpose of the exercises for today is to begin to train your mind to recognize when it is not really thinking at all. While thoughtless ideas preoccupy your mind, the truth is blocked. Recognizing that your mind has been merely blank, rather than believing that it is filled with real ideas, is the first step to opening the way to vision. The exercises for today should be done with eyes closed. This is because you actually cannot see anything, and it is easier to recognize that no matter how vividly you may picture a thought, you are not seeing anything. With as little investment as possible, search your mind for the usual minute or so, merely noting the thoughts you find there. Name each one by the central figure or theme it contains, and pass on to the next. Introduce the practice period by saying, "I seem to be thinking about blank." Then name each of your thoughts specifically. For example, I seem to be thinking about name of a person, about name of an object, about name of an emotion, and so on. Concluding at the end of the mind-searching period with, but my mind is preoccupied with past thoughts. This can be done 4 or 5 times during the day, unless you find it irritates you. If you find it trying, 3 or 4 times is sufficient. You might find it helpful, however, to include your irritation or any emotion that the idea for today may induce in the mind searching itself. You're preoccupied with what's gone. What if there's nothing there to empty? He pulled into the hotel parking lot just before midnight. 3 cars. That was strange. The sign outside said, "No vacancy." Inside the lobby, the computer said the same thing. Every room occupied. He stared through the glass doors at the empty parking lot, then back at the screen. Room 108, occupied. Room 112, occupied. Room 214, occupied. Name after name, room after room. The hotel appeared full, but where was everybody? He opened the record for room 108. Check-in, Tuesday. Check out, Wednesday. Today was Thursday. He frowned. That guest was already gone. He clicked room 112. Same thing. Gone. Room 214. Gone. Room 305. Gone. The guests had checked out. The computer had never let them leave. That was cold. The rooms were empty, but the records were still occupied. He took the master key and walked down the hall. Room 108, empty. Room 112, empty. Room 214, empty. No luggage, no shoes, no people. Nothing to remove. Yet every room carried the same label, occupied. He returned to the desk. A card beside the keyboard contained today's instruction. My mind is preoccupied with past thoughts. He looked at the screen again. Preoccupied. Occupied already. Filled beforehand. The hotel had been filled with people who were no longer there, at least in the records. He read the next line. This idea is, of course, the reason why you see only the past. He stopped. Yesterday had been, I see only the past. Now the course had moved behind the seeing. Why did the past appear everywhere? Because the mind was already occupied with it. Before the door opened. The record had already decided who was inside. Before the present was seen, the past had already named it. He thought about the reunion, Marcus, Angela, the yearbook. Before Marcus finished walking toward him, the old Marcus had already appeared. 17 years old, letter jacket, hair across his forehead. Before Angela finished speaking, quiet, shy, never said much. The archive opened first. Then what was here was compared to what was gone. I see only the past, because my mind is preoccupied with past thoughts. He looked again at room 214. The computer still said, occupied. But the room was empty. The guest had already left. Nothing needed to be carried out. Nothing needed to be removed. The only thing still holding the guest there was the record. He sat down. Another line on the card caught his attention. The one wholly true thought one can hold about the past is that it is not here. Not here. He thought about high school. Not here. The reunion. Not here. Breakfast that morning. Not here. Something Daphne said. Not here. Something he wished he had said. Not here. The answer was brutally simple. Where is it? Not here. He closed his eyes. I seem to be thinking about Daphne. Immediately, a face, a voice, conversations, messages, history. It felt full. But where was Daphne? Not here. He opened his eyes. Empty lobby. He closed them again. I seem to be thinking about tomorrow. Traffic appeared. Weather, plans, things that might happen. Where was tomorrow? Not here. Past, gone, future. Not here yet. And if tomorrow arrived, it would arrive as now. He laughed. The mind could become completely occupied with what was not here. Yesterday's guest, tomorrow's guest, and this the empty room now. He read further. The mind is actually blank when it does this, because it is not really thinking about anything. Blank. He looked at the hotel screen. Names everywhere, dates everywhere, records everywhere. The screen looked packed, but the rooms? Empty. The hotel appeared full because the system was filled with records of people who were gone. The mind could look the same way. Daphne, money, food, fear, yesterday, tomorrow. Something somebody said, something somebody might say. Full, full, full. Full of what? Past thoughts about what is gone, future thoughts about what is not here. Nothing from nothing leaves nothing. He smiled. A giant, occupied sign hanging on an empty room. He began clearing the old records. Room 108, checked out. Room 112, checked out. Room 214, checked out. The occupancy count dropped. 30 rooms, 20, 12, 7. Same hotel, same rooms. Nothing physically changed. No guest was removed. No suitcase was carried downstairs. No door had to be forced open. The rooms had already been empty. Only the record said otherwise. He stopped clicking. That was the lesson. The course was not asking him to empty the mind by force. How do you empty nothing? Yesterday was already gone. Tomorrow had never arrived. The old argument was not here. The old person was not here. The old event was not here. There was nothing to drag into the hallway, nothing to evict, nothing to clean out, only something to recognize. I seem to be thinking about Daphne.
I seem to be thinking about money. I seem to be thinking about fear. I seem to be thinking about tomorrow. Then, but my mind is preoccupied with past thoughts. He looked at the screen one final time. The no vacancy warning had disappeared. Rooms available. They had been available all along. The system simply had not recognized it. He looked toward the dark hallway, door after door. Empty rooms that had seemed occupied by people who were gone. Then back at the card. My mind is preoccupied with past thoughts. The mind had hung an occupied sign on what contained nothing, and believed the sign. You're preoccupied with what's gone. What if there's nothing there to empty?